Good evening, Tottenham fans. Tottenham have took a massive risk in signing Igor Tudor as their interim manager. But what does he have to do to make Spurs happy other than just keep them up? Is there a chance he could keep his job after his stint at Spurs? Is there a chance that he could get sacked before the season's even finished? I'm going to go through 5 scenarios that Igor Tudor could actually accomplish or not accomplish. And what do you guys in the comments think about each one of these scenarios? All of this is hypothetical. All of this is something that probably will not happen, and it's very much exaggerated. So don't think that I think these things are going to happen. I'm just going to give you some hypothetical situations, because at the end of the day, nobody knows what's going to happen. Anything can happen. This guy has been brought in. We've got a massive amount of injuries. He's new to the Premier League. He could come in, he could rip it up and really dominate teams, or he could come in and really massively struggle. Nobody knows until it actually happens. At least when he came out the other day and he actually said, I do not play for draws, I play for wins. And when you was listening to Thomas Frank, he was saying things like, we will lose games. So at least this guy has already motivated me a little bit into even making this video. So let me take you through the first scenario. And remember, these are just hypothetical. So the first one is, what if Igor Tudor wins 7 games and gets us to the semi-final of the Champions League? Do we keep him? Now, I think that would be absolutely excellent. The one thing we have to keep in mind as well is he does always do very well if he comes in mid-season, and he always does really well to keep them out of trouble or get them into a Champions League. But after that, it always seems to peter off. So 9 times out of 10, we're probably going to get rid of this guy no matter what happens. But in this scenario, would you keep him? Would you think that this guy has done enough to show you, especially with all the injuries that we have? If he gets 7 wins out of the final 12 and the Champions League semi-final, do you think that then he would be deemed good enough to get the job? Let me know in the comments for that one. Second one, if he loses his first 5 games, do we sack him? Now, in this scenario, if he does lose his first 5 games, I think it's Arsenal, I think it's Fulham, I think it's, who else we got? Crystal Palace, Liverpool and Forest. If he loses 5 of them, especially the Forest at home and the Palace, and oh God, if he lost all them, would you sack him and hope that whoever comes in for the remaining 7 games can turn it around? We'd be in a very sticky situation if he lost the first 5 games, because I don't think there's a manager in the world that would want to come in for the last 7. If we lost the first 5 games that he comes in for, there's a huge possibility that we'd be in the bottom 3, by the way. What manager in world football is going to come in and want to be the first manager ever to be part of relegating Tottenham for the first time in Premier League history? I don't think there's a manager out there. This would be a Sean Dyche masterclass if he managed to come in and save us. But I don't even think Sean Dyche would be up for that task, especially if we got even more injuries in the meanwhile and we had to actually start playing academy players. So sacking him might not do anything. It might just prolong the inevitable. But if that scenario happens, then we're most likely going to go down. Most likely. Let me know in the comments, would you sack him if he lost the first 5 games? Now, third scenario, beat Arsenal and Chelsea and finish 6th. Is that enough to keep his job? Now, bearing in mind, we are 13 points from 6th at the moment, so that is not absolutely impossible. Beating Arsenal, Chelsea, we haven't done that for a long time. Imagine beating them both in his first half season, and Spurs ain't done that for years, especially beating both of them in the same season. I can't remember when that's even happened. But if he beats them 2 teams, finishes 6th, we'd have to win probably 8 or 9 of our games to finish 6th. We're 13 points behind at the moment. We're 11 points from 7th, so even a Conference League isn't impossible, depending, like I said, how he actually starts and how he actually gets his team motivated. Is he going to get this team playing? I think if he done that, we'd have to have serious thoughts on keeping him, because finishing 6th, beating Arsenal and Chelsea, in the season where people were saying we could seriously go down and we ended up in a Europa League position, that would be absolutely insane. But can you imagine Pochettino coming in and having a Europa League season? I honestly think Pochettino could win that, and we could actually win another European trophy, which would be absolutely brilliant. If we actually beat Arsenal as well, that could really dent their chances to win the league. So that's like a double whammy for us. We end up with European football, they end up with nothing again other than second place. That would be absolutely brilliant. Now, fourth scenario. He wins the Champions League. I know it's really hypothetical. He wins the Champions League and finishes 17th. So Spurs have an identical season to last season, apart from it's a Champions League win, and we finish 17th. Now, we can't ignore the fact that if this guy, unknown guy that nobody even knows about, the guy that everyone said, who the fuck is this when he came in, comes in, wins a Champions League for Spurs, and finishes 17th. Does he keep his job? Because you got to remember, last season, Ange finished 17th and won the Europa League, and he got sacked. Would this guy get sacked? Remember, this is the team that sacks their managers if they win trophies. One day Ramos, Ange Postecoglou, and Jose Mourinho got to a final, and he got sacked before it. So, are Enoch going to shit their pants and say, damn it, we need to sack this manager because we want to compete on all four fronts? Or are they going to say, wow, he got a relegation team to win the Champions League? If Tottenham win the Champions League and finish 17th, what is the rest of Europe going to think of the Premier League? They're going to think the Premier League is absolutely outstanding. A 17th place team has just won the... That's unheard of. I'm laughing because this is never going to happen, by the way. This is never going to happen. I think if... By the way, he'd be one of the most successful managers we've ever had because no manager in our history has won this trophy. So he'd have to be up there with one of our most successful managers in history. If that happened, he'd have to keep his job just because of that. It'd have to. I could not sack him. You would not be able to sack him. No, if Tottenham sack him, then we need to sack Enoch straight away. I'm laughing because I know this is not going to happen, but it'd be just to the funniest scenario ever, especially if Arsenal finished second and we won the Champions League. And all season they've been laughing about us getting relegated and we end up winning the biggest trophy they've never won in their history. It'd be absolutely hilarious. Fifth scenario. If he gets us relegated, does Poch still come to Spurs? Now, Poch has been working for Spurs lately. He says he loves the club. He's got unfinished business. Does he love us that much to manage us in the Championship and try and get us back to the Premier League and then try and grow us from there? Now, he would do pretty well in the Championship, to be honest, if he came to us, because he'd be able to play all of our youngsters mainly, really develop them in the Championship, and then put us into the Premier League again and then develop the youngsters even more. I think it could be a really good scenario where we build up a really strong squad before we go back into the Premier League. I don't want it to happen. I don't want to get relegated. But what do you think in the comments? Do you think Poch would actually come to Spurs if we got relegated? I'm really sitting on the fence with this. He says he loves Spurs, but does he love Spurs that much? I don't think so. I don't know whether he'd want his wage packet wouldn't be as good, especially for a Championship side. You know, he could manage top teams if he wants to. Would he? I don't know. You're going to have to let me know in the comments because I'm not 100% sure what will happen if we got relegated. I really don't even want to think about getting relegated, you know. I was looking at the fixtures and we've got all the bottom teams. Like even Brighton have dropped like a stone lately and we've got to play them. And I think we're playing them at home as well. We've still got to play Palace there in and around us. We've got to play Forest there in and around us. We've still got to play Wolves, who are bottom. We've got some all right fixtures. You know, we've got to play Leeds there in and around us as well. We've got to play them at home. There's a chance we could win that. We've still got to play Everton at home. We've still got 5 home games. If we can actually turn around our home form with this new manager, then maybe, just maybe, we could actually, you know, go up the table rather than looking behind us. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows. That's why all of this is hypothetical, and it's just more of a laugh than anything. More of like, you know, less stress because we've had so much stress supporting Spurs this season. I just wanted to make this a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more fun, a little bit more to talk about. But you got to tell me in the comments which one of these scenarios. Like, pick a scenario and tell me in the comments what would you do as Enoch if these scenarios happen. And do you think Pochettino would actually come to us if we got relegated? Would you sack Igor if he lost his first 5 games, knowing we've only got 7 games left to save our Premier League status? Thank you for watching, and come on, you Spurs.